We're diving into an action-packed crime thriller movie titled Jack Ryan: Shadow Recruit. Without further ado, make yourself comfortable and, as always, enjoy the recap. The movie begins in London, where John Patrick Ryan is sitting on a park bench. He gets up and heads to class, but along the way, people start rushing around him in a panic. After hearing about a commotion at the London School of Economics, he enters to find everyone staring at a TV. It's one of the first major blows to America of this magnitude. 18 months later, John is deployed with his comrades, flying in a chopper. John personally requested this assignment, and as he speaks to his commanding officer, a private tries buckling up. Suddenly a missile strikes the chopper, sending it spiraling out of control. The screen cuts to black. Lieutenant Ryan wakes up being carried into a medical facility, where doctors do everything they can to save him. They have a 90-minute window to operate on him before he loses his legs. The doctor informs him he will never fight again. Ryan is taken to the Walter Reed Army Medical Center, where he begins his rehabilitation after the devastating accident. During his recovery, Kathy Meller, a doctor, tries her best to encourage him, now calling him Jack Ryan. Meanwhile, Thomas Harper discusses Jack's condition with the doctors, noting that Jack has been there for 8 months and may never walk without crutches. Harper believes Jack needs a new sense of purpose and leaves him to recover. Later, Harper walks in on Jack, introducing himself as Commander Thomas Harper of the U.S. Navy. He thanks Jack for his service and asks if Jack was responsible for writing liquidity events and post-Soviet market reports, as well as filing reports on traffic patterns at the Sayre Bridge. Harper commends Jack's work before walking away. Jack, puzzled, asks how Harper knew about this, and Harper whispers, "I'm in the CIA." That night, Kathy finds Jack outside to tell him she's completed university and is moving on. Jack asks her out for dinner, and she promises that if he can run to her, she'll agree. As she leaves, Jack immediately starts training, running through the rain. Harper, watching from afar, asks Jack why he didn't finish his PhD. Jack replies that he wanted to join the Marines. Impressed once again, Harper tells Jack there's another way he can serve his country. He explains that he wants Jack to finish his doctorate and join the Financial Intelligence Agency as an analyst, working for a series of private banks on Wall Street. Jack's mission would be to uncover funding for terrorist groups. Harper emphasizes that no one can ever know about this, not his employers, lovers, or anyone else. 10 years later, Jack is working in New York City. He meets his friend Teddy Hefferman, and as they walk into the office, Jack listens to Wall Street news about Russia's opposition to a new Turkish pipeline. This pipeline could shatter Russian dominance in economic export. At the UN, Russian and American representatives clash over the project, with the US refusing to back down, which Russia sees as an act of economic warfare. Meanwhile, Jack looks at a company called Charon Group and notices that its funds are being transferred anonymously and appear corrupt. He sends a message on his phone, arranging to meet at the movies. The scene cuts to the cinema, where Jack meets one of Harper's men. He mentions that their Russian partners are hiding accounts and hands over some files. The man tells Jack that Harper will want him to go to Moscow, then leaves. That night, Jack has dinner with Kathy, but he's distracted, constantly watching the news. Kathy suggests they go to the movies together. The scene then cuts to Moscow, where Victor Charon, a billionaire tycoon, is summoned to meet with Minister Sokin. Sokin informs Victor that the vote on the pipeline ended badly. Victor asks if he should begin moving his assets, and Sokin confirms. He also stresses that the Kremlin must remain distant from any of Victor's activities. Victor asks if it's time for the operation to begin, and Sokin assures him the Kremlin has no knowledge of it. Back at his hotel, Jack meets with Harper, explaining that Charon managed to cover his tracks. They need to break into Victor's office to find the algorithm he's using for his operation. However, things get complicated. When Jack returns to his room to find Kathy waiting, she demands an explanation for the gun she found. Jack finally confesses that he's in the CIA. To his surprise, Kathy is proud of him. At Charon Group, Victor confirms with his secretary that the attack will happen tomorrow. Meanwhile, in Michigan, a Russian family listens to a sermon before burning evidence and preparing for the operation. Alexander, the son, is followed by someone but kills the man, discovering that he was an FBI agent. Harper suggests that Kathy join Victor for dinner to avoid suspicion, though Jack dislikes the idea. Kathy scolds Jack for keeping his secret from her. getting her involved in the mess. Harper shuts them both down, explaining that Jack will need to break into Dimitri's office while Kathy distracts Victor at dinner. Jack plants a device to access the building's electrical wiring, allowing him to hack into Dimitri's system. During dinner, Kathy deduces that Victor has stage 3 cancer, giving her more time to engage him in conversation. Meanwhile, Jack successfully hacks into Dimitri's system, but Dimitri is alerted to a security breach and rushes back. Kathy manages to keep Victor occupied, allowing Jack to copy the necessary data. Jack narrowly escapes through Victor's private elevator. Back at headquarters, Harper downloads the data, and Jack reveals that the attack is set for 9:06 a.m. the next day, which will cause a $2 trillion wipeout. Suddenly, Kathy's car is rammed, and she is kidnapped by Charon's men. Jack gives chase but fails to save her. Harper uses the tracking device in Kathy's ring to lead Jack to her location. Victor calls Jack, threatening to kill Kathy unless Jack stops the upload of the stolen data. Jack, still speeding toward them, pulls off a risky maneuver, crashing the enemy vehicle and rescuing Kathy. Jack then confronts Victor, delivering a punch before escaping with Kathy. Back at headquarters, Jack and Harper discover that Victor's son, Alexander, is still alive and has been living in the US under an alias. They track him to a barn in Pennsylvania, where they uncover a bomb plot targeting Wall Street. At Wall Street, Jack notices something is off with one of the cop vans and realizes it's the bomb. He chases Alexander into an underground tunnel, knowing that the explosion will destroy several buildings. In a fierce fight, Jack overpowers Alexander and drives the van off a bridge, neutralizing the threat just in time. In Moscow, Victor is summoned by the minister and gunned down, meeting the same fate as his son. In the aftermath, Jack recovers in the hospital, with Kathy by his side. Their relationship has mended, and all is forgiven. Later, Jack and Harper are called to meet with none other than the President of the United States, bringing their mission full circle. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more movie recaps.